Okay, so today I want to tie a little bit of an imitation of a golden stonefly nymph that's really popular in our wild trout streams here in Missouri. And so what I'm going to do is I'm tying it on the new Umpqua U series hooks, and I'm going to tie this on a 14U 101, and it's a 1X long, 1X strong, and I'm going to be tying it with wood duck color, the UTC thread, number 70 in the denier series. I really like this color. They call it wood duck, but for our golden stoneflies, it really works great. So I'm going to tie it right in behind the bead, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap it on back to just about where the hook point is at. And I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to use the uni copper wire small, and I'm going to use this for my segmentation. I want my segmentation, like my copper johns, to start on the bottom of the hook. So I'm going to tie it on the far side, and it's going to be tied on the very bottom. And I'm going to wrap this all the way down to the hook point, or the hook barb, which is the beginning of my hook bend, right about using the plumb bob system. It's going to hang right about where the barb is at. At this point, I'm going to take my pheasant tail, and as you can see, it's that wonderful golden yellow color, and I'm going to take out down on the bottom side the longest fibers of the tips, and I'm going to take, I don't know, about half dozen or so, if you can see how many I've splayed out, and I'm going to measure them up, the length between the back of the bead and where my thread is hanging, about right there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put about 2 wraps, and the second wrap is going to bring it right up on top of that hook shank, just like that. And it's going to kind of just splay them out so light. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use mylar for my flashback, and the mylar that I'm using for this size hook is the number 12 Pearl 3/64. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to kind of pull back my pheasant tail, and I'm going to start a little bit of a wrap right here, and as it comes around, it's going to come right on top, just like that pheasant tail did. And I'm going to wrap forward with my thread, and then from here I'm going to put a security wrap of a 1/2 inch right behind that bead. And now I'm not worried about it unraveling when I go ahead and cradle and use my rotary vise. So I'm going to take my pheasant tail, and I'm just going to gently wrap right around my body, and I'm going to continue wrapping forward until I get just behind that bead. As you can see, I've got that much left. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of run back over the top a little, about halfway, and then come back again. And I'm going to go ahead and keep pinching, and I'm going to wrap my thread around and grab it and tie it in. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of building up a little bit of a robust area for my stonefly, just to give it a little more darkness and shape to it, like shoulders. Go ahead and cut that off. And again, the trout that I'm fishing to, I cast up into the top of the plunge pools where these stoneflies and that are at, and then they get tossed down into the plunge pool. So as you can see, I've wrapped the mylar forward on the top of this fly body, and I'm going to give it just 2 wraps to kind of hold it there, pull forward, and it cinches right down on top. So now I take the brass copper and stretch it, straighten it out so light, and now I'm going to go ahead and just wrap from underneath, and I'm going to come around from my side. Since I'm not counter wrapping to hold hackle, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I don't catch the ends of my mylar, and just go ahead and gently wrap equal segmentation around until I get all the way to the top. And it's just really doing a nice job of taking and holding that mylar. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this mylar back, and I'm going to wrap in front. So the stonefly, he's down on the bottom, and he does not want to swim to the top. He got broke loose in the fast water, and he's kind of floating down along in the current, hoping that no fish catches him until he can get a foothold again. So he gets washed to the bottom of the plunge pool in the current. So I'm going to add a little extra more weight to keep my fly on the bottom, but I don't want it to be overweighted. So I'm going to wrap my mylar back 1 bead length behind my bead with my copper, and I'm going to go ahead and take my thread and wrap right over the top just to cinch it down, wrap it back again over the top. Now I can go ahead and worry off my copper, and there we have that. Now my tails should, yep, they're still on top and everything's tied in. Now we're going to go ahead and take our Peacock Herl. And because, again, this is a stonefly, and I kind of like to give it a little bit more of a robustic thorax, and we're keeping the body short. This is, you know, it's not a huge, long nymph. So I'm going to go ahead and tie in 5 or so strands right behind that eye, and I'm going to wrap right back to where that mylar was at. So all this again is about, if you were to measure it, my bead to bead, right about like that. So I'm going to just go ahead and wrap gently forward, touching to right behind that bead. And now as I come up, I follow it with the thread and follow right behind that bead. And I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more wraps right behind that bead. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean off the tag ends, hold, and then pull down just gently. Don't break your thread. And reach in from the side so I don't accidentally cut. Don't cut on the bottom. Cut your thread, and don't cut like this. Cut your mylar. So now I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to grab some more of this, but now I'm going to kind of look up in here where you kind of see the tips are dark and brown. Those are going to be my legs. I'm not going to come off down here where it's so long that I can use this for my tails and my abdomen. I'm going to come up here for legs. They're kind of short, so I'm going to grab me about 1/4 inch off the top up here, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of splay them out, kind of, kick them apart, if you can see what I'm doing, and get equal amounts on each side. That looks pretty good right there, I'd say, if you can see what I'm doing. And now I'm going to come in here, and what I want to do is I just kind of want to splay that bead, and I want the length to be just behind that thorax. So if you can kind of see where I'm at, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that mylar forward, and I'm going to pinch my legs right there behind that bead, and I'm going to bring this mylar right through my fingers and make sure that my legs stay on the, well, I pulled them out. Okay, let's get them back to the same length again. So I'm going to start over, roll them a little, and I'm going to just put them right here on top for the length. And I'm going to put a wrap right here and come down. And now what I'm going to do is, you can see the length, and I'm going to look over the top and kind of squish it out between with my thumb, and bring that mylar right up through the middle. And if you can kind of see what I'm doing there, I've split the legs with the mylar and my thumbnail. So now I'm going to really kind of hold it, and I'm going to bring them legs right over the top just like they were, and I'm going to bring that just like that. Pull down, around, pull down, and the legs should stay right there to the length. And if you can see, I've got a nice separation of legs, thorax, all on the sides. Everything is nice and tight. And now we come through, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. And now I'm going to pull this mylar back, and when I get done, I'm going to leave a little bit of that mylar hanging back because I don't want it to pull out. And we'll go ahead and whip finish. And as we do, we have completed a little bit of a very robust stonefly that wild trout don't have the time to pick all of its attributes, but it has the right color, a little bit of shine to it, a black thorax, head, nice legs, and it's going to swing right past them in that fast water in that plunge pool. And there you have it. And if you don't like a little bit of this sticking up, you can always come back and trim this off here. Right like that and like that. And just give it all a nice touch. So I will go ahead and put on a little bit of water-soluble head cement. And as you can tell, this is nothing more than a pheasant tail with a bead and a flash. But since I tied it with this color, and I tied it kind of fat in the front, and then fat halfway back, there's no thin abdomen like you have on a normal pheasant tail. And that's where I kind of want to imitate that stonefly. And you're out in the river, you can actually take this and hang these out a little more to the side if you want. I don't really worry about it because, again, like I said, it's swimming by so fast in the current that those trout, they don't get a second thought at it. And there you go. That's one of my personal wild trout stream golden stonefly nymphs that works great for me in Mill Creek, Little Piney, any of these Spring Creek, Blue Springs. That's where I'll be fishing this fly pattern. This is not really one of my trout park patterns, but it will work there if that's what you want to do.